Ladies and gentlemen, stop what you're doing and pay attention, because while you're distracted by TikTok, Netflix, and nonsense, the real world, the world of kings and emperors, is moving without you. You hear US vs Iran and you think it's about missiles, ships, and soldiers. Wrong. This isn't about bombs. This is about power. It's about who controls the planet's wealth, who dictates the price of oil, who shapes the future of humanity. And if you don't understand this, you're already defeated. Power is the ultimate currency. It always has been and it always will be. Every man, every nation, every empire that has ever mattered in history has understood this. The weak pretend power doesn't matter. They make excuses, they complain, they say, "Oh, I don't need power, I just want peace." But peace itself is a product of power. Without strength, there is no peace, only submission. The US vs Iran situation is the perfect example of this truth playing out on the global stage right now. What you see in the news, missiles being tested, troops being moved, ships positioned in the Gulf, that's all just surface level noise. What's really happening is a battle of willpower. The US is trying to maintain its grip as the dominant force on the planet. Iran is trying to carve out space, to show it won't be bullied, to prove that it has power too. Both sides know that in the world of nations, just like in the world of men, nobody respects weakness. Nobody cares about good intentions, only results matter. You can say you want peace, but if you're weak, the strong will take what's yours. That's reality. Look at how the world works. The nations with the biggest militaries, the strongest economies, the tightest control over resources, they set the rules. They get the best trade deals. They decide where wars start and where they end. They dictate how the world operates because they have the power to enforce their will. And if you think this is unfair, too bad. The world isn't fair. The world is ruled by those who have the courage to seize power and the discipline to hold on to it. Iran understands this. That's why they don't back down when the US imposes sanctions. That's why they fund proxy forces in other countries. That's why they push their nuclear program despite international pressure, because they know that in the modern world, survival isn't guaranteed. You either build strength or you get swallowed up. The US understands this too. That's why it keeps military bases all over the world. That's why it controls international banking systems. That's why it keeps the dollar as the reserve currency. The US knows that power is what keeps it on top, not goodwill, not charity, not empty promises of democracy. Power, and here's the lesson for you. When you look at these nations clashing, don't just think of it as a political issue. Think of it as a reflection of life itself. Power is the currency in the world of nations, and it's the currency in your life too. If you're weak, if you have no money, no skills, no connections, no influence, you will be dominated. Someone will come along who is stronger, who has built what you didn't build, and they will take what's yours or force you to play by their rules. That's the law of the jungle, whether you're a man or a country. You have to understand that power comes in different forms: military power, economic power, intellectual power, social power. The US projects power with its military and its money. Iran projects power with its strategic alliances and its control over regional conflicts. And you, if you want to win in life, need to build your own forms of power. Your body needs to be powerful so no one can intimidate you. Your mind needs to be powerful so no one can deceive you. Your bank account needs to be powerful so no one can control you. Your network needs to be powerful so no one can isolate you. When you see the US and Iran facing off, don't waste time worrying about whose side to take. That's for pawns. That's for men who have no power and are looking for someone else to save them. What you should do is ask yourself, what am I doing today to make myself more powerful? What am I doing to ensure that no matter who wins on the world stage, I'm untouchable? Because when you have power, you don't fear these global conflicts. You understand them, you study them, you learn from them, and you make sure you're never the man who's caught in the crossfire. The world isn't kind to the weak. It never has been. Power is what keeps the wolves at bay. Power is what lets you write your own rules. Power is what makes sure that when the storm comes, and it will come, you're not blown away with the rest of the cowards. The US and Iran are fighting for dominance because they know what's at stake. If either one shows weakness, they'll pay the price. Learn from that, because the same applies to your life. Every day you wake up, you're either building power or you're losing it. There is no in between. So while you watch the latest headlines, the latest threats, the latest drama, remember, this is all a reminder that in life, power is the only currency that matters. And the man who understands that, who lives by that, who builds by that, that man is the one who wins. The real war isn't about missiles flying through the sky or tanks rolling across borders. That's the show they put on for the cameras. That's the spectacle they use to distract the masses. The real war, the war that actually determines who wins and who loses, is fought in the shadows. It's a war of influence, of money, of control. It's about who can move the chess pieces without ever having to step onto the battlefield. And this is exactly what's happening right now between the US and Iran. They want you focused on the explosions and threats, so you don't notice the real moves being made behind the scenes. Think about it. Every sanction, every trade embargo, every backroom deal with other nations, these are weapons. More powerful than any bomb. When the US imposes sanctions on Iran, it's not about punishing the government. It's about strangling their economy, cutting off their ability to fund military programs, stopping them from being able to buy or sell on the global market. It's about forcing Iran into a position where they have to negotiate from weakness. That's economic warfare, and make no mistake, it's just as deadly as military warfare, because it targets the heart of a nation, its economy, its ability to function. Iran fights back in its own way. It forms alliances with other countries that are outside the Western sphere of control. It makes deals with Russia, with China. It invests in proxy forces, armed groups in places like Iraq, Syria, Yemen, so it can extend its influence without having to put its own troops on the ground. That's control. That's smart warfare. It's about spreading your power quietly, so that by the time your enemies realize how much ground you've taken, it's already too late. You see, the US and Iran aren't throwing punches blindly. They're making calculated moves to control the flow of oil, the stability of currencies, the loyalty of smaller nations, because that's where real power comes from. If you can control where the oil flows, you control economies. If you control economies, you control governments. If you control governments, you control people. And if you control people, you win. This is the game that's being played, and most people don't even see it. They're too focused on the headlines, too distracted by fear, to understand that it's all about money. Who controls the trade routes? Who controls the contracts? Who controls the technology, the banking systems, the global institutions? The side that wins this war of influence can cripple its enemies without ever firing a shot. And what does this mean for you? It means you need to stop looking at life as some kind of fair contest where hard work alone brings victory. Because the world doesn't work that way. The world is controlled by those who know how to use money and influence as weapons. If you don't have influence, if you don't have money, you're at the mercy of those who do. That's the brutal truth. That's why you need to wake up and start building your own control. Build your business, build your network, build your freedom. So when the world's elite start shifting the pieces on the board, you're not the one getting sacrificed. Look at how the US uses its influence. It controls international banking through systems like SWIFT. If a country steps out of line, the US can cut it off from global transactions. That's not just a penalty, that's economic death. Iran has felt that pain, and in response, Iran is working to build alternatives, digital currencies, trade deals that bypass the dollar, regional partnerships that give it leverage. That's strategic warfare. That's understanding that in today's world, the nation that controls the financial systems controls everything. The weapons of today aren't swords or guns, they're contracts, they're supply chains, they're control over the information that shapes public opinion. The winner of this US-Iran struggle won't be the side with the most tanks, it'll be the side that masters these tools of control, and this is exactly the same in your life. The person with the biggest muscles isn't the one who wins. The person with the most control over his income, his time, his relationships, that's the person who wins. That's the person who's free. When you hear about these so-called threats, remember, it's not about the weapons. It's about the influence, the side that controls the narrative, that controls the money, that controls the levers of power. That's the side that comes out on top. And the smart man doesn't sit there watching like a spectator. The smart man studies these moves, learns from them, applies the same principles to his own life, because if you're not playing to win, you're just another pawn on the board waiting to be sacrificed in someone else's game. The real war isn't on the battlefield, it's in the mind, it's in the bank, it's in the deals that decide the future of entire nations, and if you want to win, you better start thinking the same way. Fear is the most powerful tool that has ever existed to control people. Understand this, and you'll see the world for what it really is. Every time you hear about the US and Iran, every time you see headlines screaming about war, about nuclear threats, about military escalation, they're not just reporting the news. They're feeding you fear. They want you scared. They want you anxious, because scared people are easy to manipulate. Scared people don't think clearly. Scared people don't ask the right questions. Scared people obey. Look at how governments use fear. Look at how the media works hand in hand with them to pump out non-stop images of destruction, violence, and doom. You see a missile test on TV, they show you slow-motion footage of it launching into the sky, dramatic music, expert commentators telling you the world is on the brink of disaster. Why? To inform you. No, to condition you, to keep you in a state of constant worry, because a worried population doesn't resist, a worried population doesn't question authority, a worried population begs for protection, and protection always comes with a price. That price is your freedom. When you're scared, you're distracted. You stop focusing on building your business. You stop focusing on improving yourself. You stop focusing on becoming strong, independent, untouchable. Instead, you sit glued to a screen, consuming whatever narrative they give you, waiting for instructions. That's what they want. That's what they've always wanted. The man who's afraid will follow any leader who promises to keep him safe, even if that leader is the one creating the danger in the first place. Let's break this down with the US-Iran example. Every time tensions rise, what happens? Governments on both sides use it to justify actions that benefit them. The US can justify more military spending, more surveillance, more control over energy markets. Iran can justify cracking down on dissent at home, consolidating power, demanding loyalty. The people on both sides live in fear. They suffer economically, they suffer emotionally, and they don't see the game that's being played above their heads. Fear isn't just about war, it's about controlling the narrative. When people are afraid, they accept lies as truth. They stop looking for evidence. They stop using logic. If you tell a man that danger is around every corner, eventually he'll stop questioning whether the danger is real. He'll just want anyone to protect him. And that's when governments step in. That's when corporations step in. That's when the people at the top tighten their grip and the people at the bottom lose what little freedom they have left. But here's what they don't want you to know. Fear only controls you if you let it. Fear is a choice. You can choose to see through it. You can choose to analyze instead of panic. You can choose to focus on what you can control instead of wasting your energy worrying about what you can't. When you do that, you become free. You become dangerous to the people who want you afraid, because a man who isn't afraid is a man who can't be manipulated. A man who isn't afraid makes his own decisions. A man who isn't afraid builds his own future, no matter what chaos is happening in the world. When you look at the US vs Iran situation, stop letting fear shape your view. Stop buying into the hysteria. Start seeing it for what it is. A power struggle between two nations, both using fear as a weapon to control their populations, to control the markets, to control the narrative. And then ask yourself, how are you using fear in your own life? Are you letting it hold you back? Are you letting it stop you from taking action, from taking risks, from building your empire? Because if you are, you're no different from the masses who sit paralyzed every time they see a scary headline. The powerful have always used fear because it works, but it only works on those who refuse to wake up. Don't be one of those people. Learn to spot the manipulation. Learn to question everything. When they tell you to be afraid, ask yourself, who benefits from my fear? Who gains power when I'm scared? Who gains control when I hesitate? The answer is always the same. The people who want to keep you weak, dependent, obedient. The world isn't going to get less chaotic. There will always be conflicts. There will always be threats. There will always be someone trying to use fear to control you. But you don't have to play along. You can choose strength. You can choose clarity. You can choose action. And when you do, you'll find that fear loses its grip on you, and the people who tried to control you lose their grip too. This is the mindset that separates the winners from the losers, the kings from the peasants, the free men from the slaves. Fear is a tool. It's up to you whether you let it be used against you or whether you rise above it and take control of your own destiny. Every conflict you see on the global stage, every tension between superpowers, every threat of war, it's all teaching you the same lesson over and over again. Build your own empire, because when two giants clash, the ground shakes. And if you don't have something of your own, something solid, something untouchable, you'll be crushed. That's the brutal truth of the world, and the US vs Iran situation is just another reminder of that truth. Look at what's happening. Two powerful nations are facing off, each one trying to protect and expand its influence. The US is determined to maintain its dominance, to control trade routes, energy markets, military presence. Iran is determined to resist, to carve out its own sphere of influence, to prove that it won't bow down. Both sides understand the game. The only way to survive, to thrive, is to build power, to build an empire so strong that no one can take it from you. And that's exactly the lesson you need to apply to your life. Because while these nations are fighting for control of regions, resources, and narratives, you're sitting at home watching it unfold. But here's the question. What are you doing to make sure you aren't a casualty of their game? What are you doing to make sure you're not just another pawn that gets sacrificed when the powerful make their moves? You need to stop thinking small. Stop thinking like a consumer, like a follower, like a servant. Start thinking like a builder, like a king. Like a man who understands that in this world, if you don't build your own empire, you'll be forced to live in someone else's. And when you live in someone else's empire, you live by their rules. You eat what they let you eat, you go where they let you go, you do what they let you do, and when they decide they don't need you anymore, they take it all away. The US and Iran aren't waiting for someone else to secure their future. They're taking action, making deals, forming alliances, strengthening their position. They're doing whatever it takes to make sure that when the dust settles, they're the ones standing tall. You need to do the same. You need to build wealth so no one can control you financially. You need to build skills so no one can replace you. You need to build a network so no one can isolate you. You need to build your mindset so no one can manipulate you. Every time there's a conflict, there's opportunity. The powerful see it. That's why they don't panic, they plan. When tensions rise, markets shift, resources get redirected, new deals are made, the weak watch and worry. The strong act, they see where the pieces are moving and position themselves to benefit. That's empire building, that's playing the game at the highest level, and that's what you should be doing. While the world is distracted by fear and drama, you should be focused on building. Because here's the thing, no one is coming to save you, no government, no politician, no leader. They're all playing their own game and you're not part of it. You're either building your own fortress or you're at the mercy of theirs. When a global conflict escalates, prices rise, economies shake, jobs disappear, borders close, and if you don't have your own empire, your own source of strength, you'll feel every hit. But if you've built something solid, your own business, your own investments, your own skills, your own freedom, then no matter what happens out there, you're protected. The US and Iran both understand that the world doesn't respect weakness. And neither should you. The world doesn't reward victims. It rewards builders. It rewards those who create value, who create power, who create independence. When you watch these nations maneuver, let it be a reminder that survival isn't given, it's earned. And in today's world, it's not enough just to survive. You need to thrive. You need to dominate your own space. You need to create a life where you call the shots. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Stop waiting for peace, for stability, for the right moment. The right moment is now. The world is always going to be in conflict. There will always be a US vs Iran. There will always be nations clashing, powers competing. That's the natural state of the world, but none of that should stop you from building. In fact, it should fuel you. It should drive you to make sure that no matter who's fighting, you're above the chaos. You're the one in control of your own destiny. So take the lesson. Every time you see global powers struggle for dominance, remind yourself, build your own empire. Build it strong, build it smart. Build it so that no matter what storms come, no matter what battles rage, you stand firm. Because in the end, the only person who can secure your future is you. And the only way to do that is to stop living like a pawn and start living like a king. The battlefield of today isn't fought with swords or even just with missiles and tanks. The real battlefield is digital. It's fought with information. It's fought with ideas. It's fought with the narratives that shape how people think, what they believe, and how they act. The side that controls the flow of information controls the world, and that's exactly what you see playing out right now between the US and Iran. And if you don't see it, if you don't understand how this game is played, you're already losing. Because the greatest weapon being used today isn't a nuclear bomb, it's the control of your mind. Look at how the US uses its power. It doesn't just have the most powerful military, it controls global media. It controls Hollywood, social media platforms, major news networks. It has the ability to shape what people see, what people think is important, what people fear. It can create heroes and villains with the push of a button. When the US wants the world to see Iran as a threat, the headlines flood your screen. Images of missiles, of military parades, of angry speeches, it's all designed to plant an idea in your head. Iran is dangerous. Iran is the enemy, and once that idea is planted, it doesn't matter what the truth is. The narrative has taken hold. The digital battlefield has been won. Iran understands this too. That's why they have their own state media, their own influencers, their own digital warriors pumping out messages to counter the Western narrative. They flood social platforms with their side of the story. They hack, they leak, they spread their message any way they can, because they know the same thing the US knows. If you control what people believe, you control what they'll accept, what they'll support, what they'll fight for. This war of information is more powerful than any bullet. A bullet can kill one man. A lie, a well-crafted piece of propaganda, a viral video that can control millions. It can start wars without a single shot fired. It can topple governments, it can destroy economies, and here's the dangerous part. Most people have no idea they're on this battlefield. They think they're just scrolling their feed, watching the news, keeping up with what's happening in the world. Meanwhile, they're being programmed. Every headline, every tweet, every clip they consume is designed to push them in a certain direction. So what does this mean for you? It means if you're not educating yourself daily, truly educating yourself, seeking out truth, questioning narratives, learning how to think for yourself, then you're surrendering your mind to those who want to control it. You're handing over the most powerful weapon. You have your ability to think to people who will use it against you. And once they own your mind, they own you. They can make you support wars that aren't in your interest. They can make you fear people who aren't your enemies. They can make you feel powerless, weak, dependent exactly how they want you. You have to become a soldier on this digital battlefield. That doesn't mean becoming a conspiracy theorist or rejecting every piece of information you see. It means becoming disciplined. It means learning to analyze, to question, to dig deeper. When you see a headline, ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? When you see a viral video, ask yourself, what's the agenda here? When you see two nations at odds, don't just listen to what one side says about the other. Study both sides, study history, study economics, study power, because the man who understands the game can't be played. This is why the powerful spend billions on media, on advertising, on social platforms. They know the real war is for your mind. They know that if they can control what you think, they don't need to control anything else. You'll willingly do what they want. You'll support policies that strip away your freedom. You'll give up your rights, your money, your future, all because you believed the story they fed you. The digital battlefield is where the future will be won or lost. And you need to decide right now, are you going to be a victim of that battlefield, or are you going to be a warrior on it? Are you going to sit there and let them program you, or are you going to take control of what goes into your mind, of how you see the world, of the beliefs you choose to hold? Because once you take that control, once you train yourself to see the game, no one can use it against you. You become immune to their tactics. You become dangerous to the people who want to keep you weak. And most importantly, you become free. So the next time you hear about US vs Iran, the next time you see some breaking news that's designed to make you panic, stop. Think, ask questions, because in this world, information is the deadliest weapon, and the man who masters it, the man who refuses to be manipulated, is the man who wins. So here's the truth, the unfiltered, raw reality that no one wants to tell you. This world is a battlefield. The US vs Iran, that's just the latest chapter in an endless war of power, influence, and control. But the real question isn't about who wins between nations. The real question is, where do you stand in all of this? Because while empires rise and fall, while governments play their games, you have a choice. You can sit there, distracted by fear, waiting for someone to protect you, or you can rise up and build your own empire. Power is the currency of life. The strong take, the weak are taken from. That's the law of nations, of business, of men. The war isn't just fought with missiles or sanctions. It's fought with money, with influence, with the control of information. And if you're not mastering these weapons in your own life, you're handing over your future to those who are. Fear, that's their tool. They want you small. They want you obedient. They want you waiting for permission. But I'm telling you right now, refuse to be controlled. Refuse to be a pawn in someone else's game. Use their tactics against them. Study the power moves, the information wars, the financial strategies, and apply them to your life. Build your strength, build your wealth, build your mind, build your freedom, because when you do that, no matter what happens on the world stage, no matter who fights, who wins, who loses, you stay untouchable. So don't just watch history happen, make sure you're writing your own, and remember, in this life, only the strong, the smart, and the relentless thrive. Be that man, be the king of your own empire. The time to act is now.